Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Down to Earth Astronomy and to Elite Dangerous. Today we're taking a look at the Anaconda, the Federal Corvette, and the Imperial Cutter. And we're making a comparison between the ships. We're looking at the different stats and metrics on the ship, and doing some tests on them, trying to see in which situation the ships are good and which of the other ships might be a better choice. So depending on what you want to use them for, this guide should show you the strengths and weaknesses of each of the ships. I'm going to do this in three main categories. The first category, we're going to look at the offensive part of the ship. Then we're going to look at the defensive, and finally we're going to look at the maneuverabilities. And in that category, we're also going to look at the utilities and what you could use, like all the rest that doesn't fit in offensive and defensive. Okay, but anyway. Let's start by looking at the Anaconda, which I have in front of me right here. And if we look at the hard point, we can see here that the Anaconda has a single huge hard point. It has three large hard points. It has two mediums and two small hard points. Whether that's good or bad, we will have to wait and see until we look at the other ships. For utility mounts, it has 8 utility slots, which is pretty standard on this size of ship. And it also comes with the optional military, is that actually in core? Yeah, there we go. A single class 5 military compartment, which you can use for modules like hull reinforcement, module reinforcement, and shield cell banks. So these are defensive modules only, which, okay, then doesn't really fit in the offensive, but anyway, I decided to include it here as well. So let's go ahead and have a look at the cutter. And on the cutter, we have, for hard points, oh, it's the opposite way. Okay, anyway, we still have a single huge, 2 large this time, but 4 mediums. We still have the 8 utility slots, and we have the 2, this time, class 5 military compartments. And then finally, we of course have the Corvette, which has 2 huge hard points, a single large, 2 mediums, and 2 small hard points. Still have the 8 utility slots, and also, just as with the cutter, 2 class 5 military compartments. So if we put the stats up and compare them here on the screen, you can see that in terms of pure weapon power, the Corvette has a slight advantage. Those 2 huge hard points is very, very good. Don't underestimate that it has very few large hard points, only a single, whereas the cutter has 2 and the Anaconda had 3 of them. But just having those 2 huge hard points, I think, makes this a good choice when it comes to raw DPS output. Remember, all these ships can also fit a fighter hangar, so that's worth taking into consideration as well. So if you're looking for pure firepower, I would definitely go for the Corvette in this case. But let's move on to the defensive category. And here we have the stats for the defensive metrics that I've decided to look at. We have the hull mass, and it will be apparent a bit why this is important. We have the armor. This is the base armor that the ship comes with without any modules fitted. And then a shield. And what I've done here is I stripped all the ships down so they were fitting D-class modules in all their internal slots. They have no weapons, no utilities fitted, making essentially the ship not as light as possible, but making it very light. And then I was fitting in the highest class internal slot an A-rated shield generator. Okay, so normal shield generator in the highest internal compartment available. And these are then the shield values that are displayed here on screen. So if we look at the ships, again, the Anaconda, very light, which of course means it's going to get a bit more out of its shield booster, but it's only able to fit a class 7, so this would be a 7A shield generator, giving it a shield of just shy of 600 megajoules. The cutter is a lot heavier, but it has a Class 8. It actually has 2 Class 8 internal compartments, meaning it can fit a class heavier shield generator. Constantly mix those two up, giving it a much larger shield value, but a bit lower armor value. And again, going to the Corvette, the shield and the armor is both lower than on the Cutter. So defensively, the Corvette is not as good as the Cutter, but it will make up for that in the mobility department, which I think is the next one we're going to move on to. Because if we're going to look at the mobility of the different ships, what I've done is I've decided to do 3 tests. I've tested the 360-degree turn time front over end, meaning how long time does it take the ship to turn, if it just pulled back on the stick, to turn all the way around 360 degree. And I've also done a 15-kilometer sprint to see just to see how quickly it could actually run or boost 15 kilometers. And the last one is, of course, the jump range of the ship when all the modules are downgraded to a D class. So I should say before I show you the clips of the tests, that doing the turn test, I decided to, let's actually just open up. I removed all hardpoints, all utility mounts, and all optional internal slots. So there's nothing there. And for the core internals, I used, I think I still have this somewhere. I used a, okay, I don't anymore. Must be on one of the other ships. I used a 7A thruster. So the largest thruster that was available on the station, or that can fit on the ship actually. And that was the same for all the ships. I fitted the largest possible thruster, A-rated. All the others would be graded at a D rating to make it as light as possible without going down a class. You can see, for instance, here in the class, also the frameshift drive, I've gone for a 4B, and that's because that the 6D was not available on the station, but the 4B had the same mass as the 6D. That's why I've gone with a 6D frameshift drive, just to make the mass similar and make that comparable. And of course, all the others here for the turn test would be rated as a D-rated module. And for the speed run, I upgraded the power distributor to the maximum, again, the highest class, and then A-rated it to give the fastest recharge for the boost. And of course, doing all the tests, all 3, we have for full pips, all 4 pips in engines to give it absolute maximum amount of power. So let's go ahead and let's first, I'll show you the spin test, and then we'll do the speed run afterwards.
Scan detected.
Okay, so here we have the results, and as you can see, the Corvette and the Anaconda, which is the 2 ships I wanted to talk about right now. I'm going to include the Anaconda. No. Okay. So here we can see the stats from that. I've also included the jump range, and that is, of course, the jump range with an unengineered drive, with everything D-rated, apart from the frameshift drive, which was, of course, A-rated with no internal compartments, nothing in the internal compartments, no hard points, no weapons, no utility mounts. and that is the jump range on an empty tank. And if we look at first the Cutter and the Corvette, what you can see here is that the Corvette turns so much faster. The Corvette was able to complete its 360-degree turn in just under 40 seconds, whereas it took over 21 seconds for the Cutter. And when in combat, that extra maneuverability that you get out of the Corvette by far outweighs the less defensive capabilities of the ship, as we saw before. The higher mobility of the Corvette also allows you to keep your guns at the target for longer. It's easier for you to keep up with smaller ships, and to be honest, almost every ship is going to be smaller and probably a little bit more maneuverable than you. So having that extra maneuverability is just so important, I feel, when it comes to combat. I've been testing that on the test server, and it's definitely a much more pleasant experience flying around the Corvette than it is in the Cutter when it comes to combat. This is only combat. And also, having those two huge hard points just makes it absolutely beautiful ship, the Corvette, for combat. If we include the Anaconda, we can see here it was kind of in the middle. It was actually pretty close to the Corvette. Their boost speeds was both similar, both the Anaconda and the Corvette. Of course, where the Anaconda excels is its jump range, and that's where the Anaconda excels in its jump range. The Cutter, Anaconda jump range, and the Corvette is it's really lacking in its jump range. You're not going to make that jump very far. Again, the Cutter, when it comes to jump range, is kind of in the middle. So when we just look at the maneuverability stats, I would suggest you use the Corvette for combat because of the high maneuverability and the high turn rate, making it easier to chase your targets around. If you're looking for long-range trading or exploration, I would probably go for the Anaconda. But if you're looking for a trade ship, the Cutter might actually be a good ship, because it can be maybe a good smuggling ship because of the high speed, so you can get down to the hatch very, very quickly. And it has a decent jump range, so it can actually work as a good jump ship. Which leads me on to the internal compartments, which we put up the stats here. And this is actually why I think the Cutter makes a very good trader, because it has those two Class 8 slots. 2 Class 8 slots. That's absolutely a huge amount of cargo hold if you put cargo racks in those two. And just the fact that it has those two, and no other ship, as far as I know, maybe some of the other bigger ships have, but at least not the Anaconda nor the Corvette, has access to a Class 8 internal modules, which is really the Cutter's main strength. That is being able to fit those two Class 8 slots. Now, if we look at the rest of the slots, we can see that the Corvette has a decent spread, and of course, it has the 3 Class 7 slots, whereas the Cutter has none. It just has the rest of its slots down in the lower. So it really gets punished for having those 2 Class 8 slots by having less of the lower ones. Well, if you look at the Anaconda, it just have an absolutely huge amount of slots. It have 12 slots all in all. That's an absolute amazing amount of slots. That's why the Anaconda is a very good utility ship, because you have so many internal compartments that you can pretty much, you're not going to run out of internal compartments in the Anaconda anytime soon. So again, final here at the end, let's just put up all the stats on all the ships here together. And in general, as I said before, I suggest that you go for the Cutter if you're going for a trade ship or a long-range, or not long-range, but a smuggling ship. You can always also use it as a trader. The Anaconda can also work as a trader or a smuggling ship, but it will probably excel a little bit better as an exploration ship if you really want an exploration ship that large and have the money for it. But if you're going for a combat ship, I would definitely suggest that you go for the Corvette. So anyway, that was my quick overview of the 3 large ships in the game. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you find it useful. If you did, give the video a like down below and consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, I will see you guys in space. If you want to know how this video was created, I highly suggest that you click the link over there to the live stream, because part of this video was actually created live. And also remember to subscribe to the channel so you know when the next live stream is coming up.